All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to HAQAST, Massachusetts. I am absolutely delighted to be serving as your local host. My name is Arlene Fiore, and I'm here at MIT. I want to just quickly say a huge thank you to Jenny Bradford and Tracey Holloway and their team for organizing the HAQAST meeting. And on the local side, huge thanks, they're not in the room, but to Brenda Carbone, Dave Wright, and Scott Wade, who have really worked hard to make this meeting possible. I also, thank you. And I also want to thank my department head, Rob Vanderhills, who over the last decade has raised the money and overseen the project for this beautiful new space that we get to use for this meeting. You may have noticed that on the agenda, we're in two different buildings, but these buildings are connected. So the addition is building 55. We're sitting right now in building 54. For any of you who had been to a lecture at MIT before, this room did not look anything like this. It's completely redone. The dedication just took place in March. So we are the first public big meeting in this space. Okay, we have some sponsors to thank as well. We want to thank the Health Effects Institute for the workshop yesterday afternoon, the early career workshop on health and air quality connections. And also, I want to thank the Center for Global Change Science that's directed by Professor Ron Prinn here at MIT in the Department of Earth, Atmospheric and Planetary Sciences, which is where I am as well. The Center for Global Change Science is sponsoring our poster session this afternoon, the reception there. And he, unfortunately, Ron could not be here, but he sent me a note just saying he wanted to communicate that it's a pleasure for the Center for Global Change Science to support this important event linking human health and air quality. I also want to thank my department, Earth, Atmospheric and Planetary Science, and the School of Science for supporting our coffee breaks.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Arlene, and to MIT for hosting us in this beautiful space. It has been a great meeting so far, and we've only just begun. Yesterday, we had an amazing afternoon sponsored by the Health Effects Institute, and it was really exciting to hear from all the early career folks who were in attendance, many of whom are also here today. So it makes it a special meeting. So what I'm going to do for the next few minutes is orient folks on where we are in HAQAST, what is HAQAST, what's the meeting going to accomplish, and this will be familiar to some of you and new to others, so it will just be a whirlwind before passing it off to our program manager, John Haynes. So here we are in the beautiful MIT campus. This is our biggest ever meeting. We had 200 people register in person, 160 register online, and the 36% is a new HAQAST attendees. And interestingly, actually, almost all of our meetings have a third new attendees. So for all the new attendees, I won't force you to raise your hand, but welcome. We're really glad that you're here and excited to be growing this community. In terms of, the HAQAST acronym, we pronounce it HAQAST, and this stands for the Health and Air Quality Applied Sciences Team. We're a 4-year initiative. We're cruising through our last year, which ends in the early 2025. We have 14 team members. Each of the team members is working with collaborators, co-investigators, students, and postdocs, all together over 60 HAQAST investigators, as we call them, and all are working with partners, some in the room, some around the world, to connect NASA science with air quality and public health challenges. The scope of our work really falls into kind of 4 categories. One are the projects that each of these members are moving forward with their collaborators. And we call these the member projects. They were often the activities that were proposed when the proposals were submitted back in 2020. But have evolved often since then, of course. 2 is we have a special kind of project called the Tiger Team. And the Tiger Team projects are collaborative initiatives across our team that are about 18 months, 12 to 18 months in duration, and really leverage the strengths across the team to work together on applied problems. during this generation of HAQAST, we've had a new initiative called Rapid Response funding, which is additional funding from NASA to address emergent immediate issues of stakeholder partners. And finally, I work with Jenny and a team at the University of Wisconsin in collaboration with NASA to do outreach, engagement, including meetings like this, which we have about twice a year. So the team structure of HAQAST was an experiment at first, and I think at this point it has really proven to be a successful experiment. That instead of just funding individual research, which NASA also does, these team structures really change the outcomes by serving as a front door for a wide range of organizations to connect with health and air quality expertise and data. And this experiment started back in 2011 with the first generation of the team at the time known as HAQAST, the Air Quality Applied Sciences team. It was recompeted in 2016 as the first HAQAST, which we called HAQAST 2. Then again, HAQAST 3, which we are in right now. And as many of you may know, we are in the process of a solicitation for the next generation of HAQAST, and the notice of intents are actually due today. So you can ask our program manager about that. But one of the things we've been excited about with HAQAST is that it increases the visibility of this work to end users. It builds a culture to support collaborations, two-way dialogue with partners, where we're listening to data needs as much as we're sharing data opportunities. We can often collaborate to meet stakeholder needs that don't fall squarely in the expertise of any one person. And when we see something that works for one organization, we can spin it up to try to connect it with other organizations. In terms of who the members are, many are here at the meeting. We are 14 professors, researchers from universities and research labs spanning Alaska to Florida and many in between, including, of course, here at MIT. And these Tiger teams took shape in 2022 and in 2021, and we've had 2 rounds of the Tiger team. So through the meeting this week, you'll be hearing about people refer to these Tiger team activities, and they may be referring to year 1 Tiger team activities, but more likely year 2 Tiger team activities, which have now been going on for about a year. Just to orient you on these year 2 Tiger team activities, there are 3 initiatives. One that is led by Arlene Fiore, looking at how TEMPO can support analysis of near surface ozone. One led by Brad Pierce, looking at how boundary conditions can support air quality modeling with satellite data. One led by Ted Russell, looking at oil and gas extraction. One led by Chen Zhao, looking at satellite data for environmental justice, which is the only Tiger team ever to have 2 rounds of funding. It was so successful the first round, we kept it going. And the final one is led by Yang Liu, looking at integrating the GOES-R aerosol data into public health decision support systems. So the star of the conversation right now is a satellite that you'll hear about called TEMPO, which stands for Tropospheric Emissions Monitoring of Pollution. This satellite was launched last year, but the data were only made public about 2 weeks ago. So this is a very hot off the press issue, and one that will certainly come up throughout the day and today and tomorrow. One of the things we're most excited about through the course of our HAQAST experience has been the partnerships that we've formed with organizations. And we're always excited to widen the tent and bring more organizations into the HAQAST community. And over time, we found that there's some organizations that have been especially involved. And we decided a few years ago to formalize this role of the super users informally to HAQAST ambassadors. And these ambassadors are really working to help connect satellite data with the communities that they represent, that the funded researchers from NASA can help process the data and answer scientific questions. But in terms of getting the word out and building those understanding what the users really need, we've really found this ambassador group to be incredibly powerful. And in fact, the last session of this meeting will be a panel here, a plenary panel with the ambassadors sharing their perspectives. So to orient you on our meeting today, we're currently at the beginning, of course. We have a new session this morning in plenary where some of the HAQAST PIs and investigators will share data and tools that they've developed over the last few years. Then we'll break out into parallel sessions, one on tempo, one on climate. Then we'll have our lunch break that Arlene mentioned. Then we'll come back with parallel sessions, one on ground networks, one on fires, then another networking break. Then we have this afternoon a crossover session with the Trope-OMI meeting, which unfortunately is being held at the same time, but fortunately means that we can have this crossover session talking about applications of those data products. Then we'll have our flash talks and poster sessions this afternoon. Tomorrow, we have another networking opportunity. Then we'll be talking again about climate and opposite global air quality and health, environmental justice, long-range air pollution, and then the closing remarks from our ambassadors. Following the end of the public meeting, we'll have a team meeting of our HAQAST team, and really what we'll be talking about there is trying to identify what have been the biggest successes of our team and how can we reinforce those in the next few months. So if you're new here, I hope that you'll talk to new people, be part of the conversation. Every session has a lot of Q&A available, and that's really to build a dialogue with everyone in the room, not just the panelist. We hope that you will share this with your networks, whether via social media or just an email. All of our sessions are live streaming, and all of our past meetings are all recorded and online. If you hear terminology that you don't know, just ask someone, but also let us know. So we have a glossary online, which is haqast.org/glossary, which you can also look things up. And we'd really love to hear your ideas. Our work is driven by the information needs that we hear from all of you. And so again, please speak up informally in the coffee sessions or at the meetings. We have a website you might find helpful, haqast.org, that has a lot of data and tools. And I can't end without making a shout out to our next and final meeting of this team, which will be in Washington, D.C., our showcase, which is currently planned for January 28th and 29th. Hopefully we get the building reservation in time. And that really is going to be more of a portfolio of all the work. So this is kind of our last regular meeting of the team, and we're really excited to have you all here. So with that, I will hand it over to John Haynes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tracey. And again, thanks so much to Arlene and the whole MIT team for hosting us here. Boston, the cradle of liberty. Great to be back here. Wonderful weather. I just want to quickly go through just a broad overview of what's been going on over the last 6 months at NASA Earth Science. So for those of you who don't know me, I guess I should start there. I'm John Haynes. I am Program Manager of Health and Air Quality Applications, which is part of the Earth Action Program at NASA headquarters. I'm joined here today by my team that includes my 2 Associate Program Managers, Laura Judd from NASA Langley Research Center in Hampton, and Helena Chapman, who's also at NASA headquarters with me. So over the past 6 months, what's new and good? Number one, we've had some launches. So PACE will launch to orbit on February 8th of this year from Cape Canaveral Space Force Station on the Florida East Coast. PACE is our Plankton Aerosol Cloud and Ocean Ecosystem Experiment mission. So it's a revolutionary ocean color instrument, but it also is going to be looking at global aerosols, so that's important for our work as well. And just about a week ago, we had the first launch of PREFIRE. PREFIRE is a polar climate experiment looking in the far infrared. It is actually made up of 2 CubeSats. So the first CubeSat was launched on May 25th from the Electron Space Base in New Zealand. And the second CubeSat is planned to be launched this evening. So we'll be taking a look, looking forward to that. So with those 2 launches, they join our family, our constellation of Earth science satellites that are currently in Earth's orbit. We now have over 20 satellites and sensors in Earth orbit, continuously monitoring Earth's weather, climate, and environment for research and applications purposes. This constellation of satellites is the largest civilian Earth-observing constellation the world's ever known, representing an investment of approximately $2 billion with a B, US dollars per year by the US government. Would not be possible to have this constellation of satellites without our partners, both foreign and domestic. On the domestic front, that includes NOAA and USGS. On the international front, it includes the European Space Agency, the Japanese Space Agency, Canadian Space Agency, just to name a few. So when you're looking at this chart, all the satellites you see in the cooler colors, the greens, the blues, those are the ones that are currently on orbit, including our sensors on the continuously crewed International Space Station. The ones that you see in those oranges going into purple colors are the satellites we plan to launch from now through the end of the decade to ensure this stays the most robust Earth-observing constellation that the world's known. Now, the other big thing that happened over the last 6 months was the Earth Science Division released a new strategy for the 2020s. It was the first update to the Earth Science strategy in many years, and it's really exciting because it focuses completely and pivots Earth science into focusing, I won't say complete, focusing much more directly on applications, which is termed action. And so the new strategy is called Earth Science to Action to meet this moment of the climate crisis. So the vision in this strategy lays out is a thriving world driven by trusted, actionable Earth science. And the mission of the Earth Science Division will be compelled by our planet's rapid change to innovate and collaborate to explore and understand the Earth system, make new discoveries, and enable solutions for the benefit of all. So we can certainly see HAQAST right in there. It's going to take an end-to-end system of Earth science in order to accomplish our goals. And that includes all the parts of Earth science, starting with our Earth Science Technology Office, which innovates our new technologies that will be launched potentially in the future to orbit and also tested in airborne campaigns. That includes our flight program. They're responsible for procuring, building, launching our satellites. That includes, of course, a robust research and analysis program to answer the fundamental questions on how the Earth system is changing from our Earth science data. And of course, couldn't be possible without our data systems as well, including our distributed active archive systems all across the country that are every day absorbing over 25 terabytes of data that we're downloading from orbit each and every day. And then we get to where we sit here in Earth Action. And what do we mean by Earth Action? The definition in the strategy of action is to accelerate the use of Earth science to support policy and decision-making for society's well-being. And it's built on 3 pillars. One is scaling, to scale up our existing efforts to get NASA science and data into the hands of our end users to solve real-world challenges. 2 is to build bridges, making sure that we're building structural and cultural bridges between all the elements of Earth science and identifying and removing those barriers to collaboration, while also being user-centered, prioritizing information exchange with end users to allow their experiences to inform our future. Again, fundamental part, HAQAST. You just see HAQAST all through this. Question we get, are you cutting research to do this? Absolutely not. We are not cutting Earth science research. The strategy does not call for defunding any of our efforts to start others, but we're working to implement this strategy across all the elements of Earth science. We understand that research and analysis, answering the fundamental questions on the Earth system and how it's changing, is a critical part of this. Now, there will be some elements that will be moved around organizationally in Earth science to enable us to realign responsibilities, to bring down those barriers to collaboration, but nothing's being cut. But some things are being reorganized and moved around. And you can think of this strategy again as a pyramid. The foundational knowledge, again, when you're talking about technology, talking about research, is of course the base of the pyramid. It is our foundation. But as you move up the pyramid to kind of the spear at the top, the point at the top, not to mix metaphors, of public understanding exchange, you see all these elements of Earth action and applications coming into the forefront. And we also have this circle back to the base. We call that the virtuous cycle. And again, that's where many of you come in, because there are questions that are raised through HAQAST and through many other means of we would like to do X, Y, and Z, but we don't have the capabilities to do that yet. So we can take that knowledge back to flight, back to research and say, we need to do some additional work, maybe a new sensor, maybe a new instrument, maybe a new airborne campaign to answer those questions. But that's where you come in to bring, so we can bring that information back to our other pieces of Earth science. So sitting here in the Earth Action Program, again, we enable people and organizations to apply insights from Earth science to benefit the economy, health, quality of life, and environment. Doing so with partners all across the nation, all across the world. Hundreds and hundreds of partners, just a few listed here. There are, of course, many elements to Earth Action, the most important being health and air quality. I think so. But number one, why do we have a health and air quality program at NASA? Why do we have a HAQAST? And I'm glad to say we've had a health and air quality program at NASA for now almost 25 years. Is number one, the impact of climate change on human health. Understanding that the climate crisis, the challenges we face, impacts health all across the board. The climate crisis is really a health crisis when you think about it. And that is really the way we need to frame it. So throughout our program, we look at issues of infectious disease and environmental health, toxic and pathogenic exposures, implementation of air quality standards, policies, and regulations, and the effects of climate change on health and air quality. Again, with partners all across the nation and the world, our portfolio is the largest currently it's ever been, with about 30 active projects. You just see a few of our partners there at the bottom, across private, public sector, all the way from state and localities, all the way to the international level. Far from exhaustive, just giving you a little flavor there. Some other quick items to note, not going to go through all of these. Since I usually remind you that your annual reports are due 60 days prior to your anniversary date, but we're now getting toward the end. So I will remind you that your final reports are actually due 90 days after your anniversary date. So that's something to keep in mind when you're getting to the anniversary dates in early 2025. With rapid response, we were able to only select one rapid response project during this round. The number one reason for that is that we did, after many continuing resolutions, we finally did receive at NASA our full fiscal year 24 appropriation from Congress in early April. Unfortunately, that appropriation was less than what we had planned for based on the president's budget request for FY24. Due to that, we had to do cuts across the board in earth science at NASA, and that included an 8% reduction in the health and air quality budget for this fiscal year. And those had to be absorbed through the rapid response reserves because there were other must-pay items that had to go out. I'm still going to be advocating, though, over the next few months if there's any extra funds sitting around in earth science for us. So I can't guarantee it, but I'm not surrendering yet. Keep in mind, please look with your institutions about costing. We get criticized all the time by our leadership and by Congress and OMB that we're not costing fast enough at NASA. And I know sometimes that's out of your control. It's really in your finance office, but delaying invoicing, but it's really an important thing because when they look at those numbers, they being the bean counters at the White House and things like that, they said, why do you need more money if you haven't spent the money we already gave you? And we know that's not true, but that's how they look at it. So it's really important. We have those solicitations out on the street. The entire portfolio of the Health and Air Quality Program is being recompeted. That includes HAQAST, which, as Tracey mentioned, notices of intent due today. That's element A.44 of NASA ROSAs with final proposals due on July 9th. But also our portfolio of individual PI-led projects that are 3-year projects is also being recompeted. And it includes all the elements we talk about in HAQAST, plus infectious disease and vector-borne disease issues. And those are due on August 6th. You can just see we have been a very busy 6 months with a lot of meetings, conferences, lots of great showcasing of our information. I'll just point out that we've had 2 airborne field campaigns that we have been directly involved with, thanks to Laura Judd's leadership. That includes the Asia AQ field campaign, which was earlier this year, and the Scope 2 field campaign, which is coming this. Just a quick look at the FY25 President's budget request. Now, keep in mind, this is what the President requests for Congress. This is what we plan to, but it's up to Congress, of course, to pass our final appropriation. When you're looking at this, because of how Earth Action is being reorganized, that line that says Applied Sciences was the traditional Applied Sciences Earth Action line, but we're actually adding into Earth Action responsive science initiatives. So when you're looking at that budget, you need to add those 2 lines together to make up Earth Action. And so when you're looking at this, you know, we look at the FY24 total of $87.5 million for Earth Action Applied Sciences. But next year we're expecting, or the president is requesting, a budget of $240 million for Earth Action. So you really see the agency and the White House is putting their money where their mouth is about applications. Always encourage you, please join our GEO, the Group on Earth Observations Health Community of Practice. Scan that QR code. GEO is an international consortium of over 100 member states looking at how to better bring down the barriers and do collaboration for the use of Earth observations across societal benefit areas, including health. I'm proud to chair the GEO Health Community of Practice along with a colleague of mine from NOAA. We have meetings about every month, at least every month, as well as showcasing results from across the world at different conferences and organizations. We have working groups that help build this collaboration and cooperation across our health issues, including on air quality. Many of you are involved in those, and I appreciate that so much. But it's welcome. It's open to everybody. Everybody can join, and it doesn't cost anything. Just sign up at the QR code, and you'll get on our listserv, and you'll get all the notices from Helena about how you can get more involved. We've talked about tempo already, talked about pace. I will mention Maya. Maya is our next big thing. That big thing is a multi-angle imager for aerosols. It's a low Earth orbit mission dedicated to health applications led by the Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Pasadena. It represents a Sentinel partnership between NASA and epidemiologists and health organizations on a satellite mission. Maya is going to be a targetable mission. It's going to target its observations of particulate matter at megacities across the world, known as primary target areas. Those cities have been chosen because they have health cohort studies ongoing in those cities. So with this partnership with epidemiologists, we're going to be assessing linkages between airborne PM types and different types of adverse health outcomes. We've just declared 2 new primary target areas that will add to the list. That includes Santiago, Chile, as well as Korea. We are planning the launch of Maya currently in May 2025, and that will be in cooperation with the Italian Space Agency. So we're planning on launch from the European Space Agency base in French Guiana. And with that, I'll stop. And again, if you want to see what's all new and good, always in Earth Action, you can go to our website. We haven't updated the domain name yet, so it's still appliedsciences.nasa.gov, but that is now the former Applied Sciences, now Earth Action program. Thanks so much.